Alright guys, activities for Wednesday, April 8th. Okay, so today our theme is the life cycle of a plant. So how it goes from a seed to where it starts to develop other seeds. Okay, so our first part of it is germinating. Okay, so we see here that we have a seed in the ground and you start to see a root start to pop out. Okay, so a root is starting to grow when it's germinating. Okay, the next one is sprouting. Okay, so now we start to see it's coming out of the ground. Okay, the seed coat, which is the outside of the seed, is starting to fall off. Okay, and we're starting to see more roots in the ground. Okay, so that's sprouting. Okay, the next part in our sequence of a life cycle is growing. Okay, so now we see there's no more seed coat. We see a stem and some leaves start to develop. And we also see a lot more roots under the ground, okay, in the growing stage of our life cycle of a plant. Okay, then we come up on flowering. Now this is the pretty part, right? Now we start to see the flower, okay, and the bud forms and opens up. Okay, now we see we have lots of leaves, we have lots of roots. This is a very healthy plant now, okay, so flowering. And then the last part in the cycle of a plant is the seeds develop. Okay, so now we see this plant looks like it's starting to die. Okay, so the seeds that were in the middle of our other plant are now starting to fall to the ground. Okay, so the petals, okay, wither and the seeds drop, okay, in this one. Okay, and now if we remember, the seeds can be spread lots of different ways. Okay, so it can be that animals carry them around, it gets stuck to an animal and might blow around, or they might pop off of different stuff. Okay, but our first activity today that we're going to do is going to be sequencing, okay, our life cycle of a plant. So we have this paper, okay, and you'll see there's a kind of a dotted line, but we're not going to cut that. We're going to just cut the stuff off the bottom, okay? So Matt's going to take his scissors, okay, he's going to trim this up a little bit so he has easy stuff to cut out and to be able to glue onto his paper. So I hope you guys are having lots of fun at home, doing lots of different things. Maybe you're getting to do some fun stuff you wouldn't have gotten to do otherwise, okay, because Mr. Matt is. All right, so we're going to cut out our different squares. Okay, maybe they kind of look more like rectangles right now because they're not all 4 equal sides, but you know, we're going to end up gluing these on here for our sequence here in a second, okay? So now I have all of them cut out, okay? Now on our paper it has first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. Okay, so our first one is looking like we're just gonna have a seed, right? So just a plain seed. So now we're gonna need our glue, okay? On our first spot, okay, we'll glue on a seed, okay? We know the next part, it's gonna be germinating, okay? So we start to see stuff come out of our seed, okay? That will be second. Okay, now let's see, Mr. Matt needs to get all his papers out here ready. Okay, so now the third one would be start to see the stem start to grow. Okay, so this is our growing stage. Okay, then the next one would be, man, let's look at some of our different pictures. Okay, then we start to see that there's leaves on it. Okay, so that would be fourth. And then our fifth one, you're going to start to see buds forming on your flower. Okay, so you have the buds on your flower start to form for your fifth spot. And our sixth and last is now you can start to see the different flowers on your plant to grow. Okay, and that is the plant life cycle, guys.
Okay, guys, for our second activity, we are going to be measuring. So I'm going to give you a second to find your shoe in your house, okay? And then we're gonna measure it together, okay? Today, we have Benny's shoe, so we're gonna measure her shoe. Let's see. We're gonna put it right, we're gonna be starting right on the 0, and we are going to put it right here on the line. Let's see where it goes to. We're starting right at the 0. It goes to 18. It's pretty big. Okay, now for our second thing, we're going to be doing a Play-Doh toy. So I'm going to give you a second to go find a Play-Doh toy, okay? Okay, now that you have your toy, we're going to start right at the 0. We're going to put it right here. Let's see where it goes to. Right to 20. Wow, that's bigger than Benny's shoe. Okay, now I'm gonna give you a second to find a book. Kind of a small book, not too big, okay? Okay, so now that you have your book, we're gonna put it right at the 0. We're gonna see right at the 0. It's about 12 and a half. So right in between 12 and 13. So there you go. There's how you measure your fun things around your house.
All right, guys, this next activity we're going to be doing some reading, okay? So you can read this with me. You can go and find your own book that you might read and find the different characters, but we're going to see if we can read a whole story and remember who kind of the characters and the different stuff that happened in our story were, okay? So the story I'm going to read is called Pumpkin Pumpkin, okay? All right, let's start this story. Okay, so, whoa, man, Mr. Matt needs to learn how to read, guys. Jamie planted a pumpkin seed. Okay, so you see pumpkin seed, and that looks like it's probably Jamie's hand right there. And the pumpkin seed grew, and a pumpkin sprout. Okay, so now it's starting to grow. Ooh, look, there's even a little tiny ladybug on it. And the pumpkin sprout grew a pumpkin plant. Now it looks like there's an otter hanging out with him. Or maybe it's a gopher. Probably a gopher, guys. Probably a gopher. And the pumpkin plant grew, and a pumpkin flower. Okay, so now you're starting to see it's a flower, okay? So it's kind of a little bit of our life cycle of plant too, okay? And the pumpkin flower grew a pumpkin. Oh my goodness, we're starting to see a pumpkin start to grow, but it doesn't look quite like a pumpkin yet. Let's see if it keeps growing. And the pumpkin grew. Oh my goodness, it's getting bigger, and there's a frog on Jamie's head. And grew. Oh man, it's getting bigger, and look, there's something in his shoes. And grew. Look how big it is compared to Jamie. Wowee, he can sit on it.